Hey everyone, it's Darin Triolo again. Thanks for checking out our video blog. Today we're going to talk about a topic that we've been getting a ton of questions about. It's how is tax reform impacting the San Diego market? So before we get started, I just want to bring your attention back to our website. If you're thinking about buying a home, go ahead and click here. You'll have access to all of the properties for sale in San Diego. And if you're thinking about selling your home, go ahead and click the other button and we'll send you a complimentary market analysis. So let's jump right into the topic. You know, we've been getting a ton of calls about tax reform and how is it going to impact the San Diego market. You know, we're in the first quarter of the year and a lot of folks are wondering what's going to actually happen. So what I'll start by saying is I'm definitely not a tax professional. If you have real specific tax-related questions, go ahead and call me. I can get you in touch with a CPA or a tax attorney. But what I do know is that the items that relate to real estate, first and foremost, the mortgage interest deduction. It was at $1 million of mortgage interest that you could write off last year, and they've dropped that limit down to $750,000. But what's interesting is that if you had your mortgage prior to December 15th, 2017, you're still allowed, you're grandfathered in to write off $1 million worth of mortgage interest. So that impact is only for purchases moving forward. So obviously, that has an impact on folks that are buying homes $750,000 or sorry, with mortgages $750,000 or more in purchases. Now, the other component, you know, that's definitely out there is the change in the SALT deduction. So the state and local tax deduction, it used to be unlimited. Whatever your local state taxes, city taxes, property taxes, you could write all of that off. That's now been limited to $10,000. So I'll give you an example. If you own a property that's $1 million in San Diego, the base tax rate is 1%. So property taxes alone would be $10,000. So if that's your limit, you would not be able to write off any other state or local taxes. It's now limited to that $10,000. So it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting psychology in the marketplace because of these two tax reform related items. What I can tell you though is that the California Association of Realtors has put out multiple scenarios that take into account these two items based on real estate, but then also the reduction in your tax rate, as well as the increase, the doubling of the standard deduction. And almost all of their criteria and all of their scenarios did show that people were paying less taxes. It did demonstrate, though, that the benefits of home ownership from a tax perspective were weakened. But what's interesting to me is that, you know, still everyone has to live somewhere, right? And if you're paying rent in San Diego, you're paying someone else's mortgage. So you also have the benefits of long-term appreciation, and I think the psychology of what's going on right now is causing people to pause. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've had years and years and years of seller market, low inventory, high demand market that I think it's healthy for the market to pause a little bit and figure out what's most important. People still need to live somewhere. People still have to call a place home. I'm still a huge proponent of home ownership, obviously, based on what I do. And the idea of when you pay rent, you can't write off your rent. So even if your deductions are less, you might be able to make it back up on some of the other benefits of tax reduction in your tax bracket, and or if you have a pass-through entity like a corporation, an S-corp, or you're an independent contractor, you're going to be able to write off 20% of your profit off the top. So I think when you look at the overall impact of tax reform on San Diegans, I think it may impact some of the higher price points and cause people to pause a little bit longer on some of the higher price point properties. But overall, I think once we start getting through this psychology shift, I think things will start to normalize and we'll really have a good feel of where the market's headed. I personally feel the market is really responding right now to supply and demand, and that's really what's driving everything. If you have any more detailed questions, please feel free to give me a call. You can reach me at 858-206-8000. or email me, Darin@triolorealty.com. Thanks so much for watching.